Evelyn James sat by her small, ivy-covered window, the morning sun casting warm rays across her kitchen table. At 80, she moved with the grace of someone who had experienced much of life's turbulence, but learned to walk lightly through its storms. Her face, soft but lined, reflected years of laughter, sorrow, resilience, and a steadfast commitment to dignity. She sighed, eyes drifting to the framed black-and-white photo of her late husband Marcus, who had been her partner in life and in the quiet fight for justice. Marcus had passed 10 years prior, yet she felt his presence in every corner of their home. Today, as she did every Friday, Evelyn prepared to visit the community center, where she volunteered her time helping neighbors with everything from filling out forms to listening to stories they carried like hidden treasures. The small town of Millfield might seem unassuming, but to Evelyn, it was a tapestry of lives, stories, and memories. Some painful, others full of joy. Evelyn packed her worn leather handbag with everything she might need: a book to read, a notebook, and a couple of cookies she'd made that morning, wrapped in wax paper for her friends at the center. Outside, the town was just beginning to wake, sunlight spilling across the town square as a few shopkeepers opened their doors, and the smell of fresh coffee drifted from the local cafe. As she climbed into her old but reliable sedan, Evelyn's mind wandered. The world had changed so much in her lifetime. The streets, once bustling with a sense of community activism, now lay quieter. Many younger folks had moved to bigger cities, chasing new opportunities. But she stayed. This was home, and there was comfort in that simplicity. Her drive to the center usually took 15 minutes. It was a small distance, but one filled with memories, as she passed buildings that had been there since her youth. She didn't know this journey would change everything. At the other end of town, Officer Doug Mitchell adjusted his uniform in the mirror, sizing himself up with a critical eye. He was new in Millfield, only having arrived a few months prior from a bigger city. The peace and quiet of the town frustrated him at times. He was used to a faster, rougher pace. Despite his ambition, his temper was often short, his demeanor stern. He wasn't one to back down when he felt his authority challenged. That morning he was feeling particularly tense. A report had come through that the police department was due for a routine inspection, and his record wasn't spotless. He'd had a few complaints in the past, but he pushed the thought aside, eager to prove himself as someone who kept order in the town. Mitchell climbed into his patrol car, eyes sharp, eager to uphold what he viewed as real order, even if it meant pushing boundaries. The town of Millfield had a storied past. A small, tight-knit community, it had seen its fair share of racial and social tensions in the 1960s and 70s, with Evelyn and Marcus among those leading the call for equality and respect. It was a town that remembered its history, one where people knew each other's names and often each other's stories. Evelyn had played a quiet but pivotal role in that history. Her calm, steady voice had encouraged many in the town to look past their differences and work together. Over the years, she'd earned the respect of her community, and to her, Millfield felt like an extended family. As she drove, she recalled some of those early days of activism with Marcus and smiled. They hadn't done it for recognition, they did it for love, for each other, their family, and for the future of their town. As Evelyn approached an intersection just a few blocks from the community center, she noticed a patrol car behind her. The lights flashed, signaling her to pull over. Evelyn's mind raced momentarily, but she quickly dismissed her worries. She hadn't done anything wrong, at least not that she could recall. Evelyn pulled to the side of the road and watched as Officer Mitchell stepped out of his patrol car and approached her. There was an edge to his movements, a harshness that contrasted with the gentle morning air. "License and registration," he said, his tone brisk and devoid of warmth. Evelyn, always prepared, handed over her documents without hesitation, offering a polite smile. She noticed his steely gaze as he examined her papers. "What's the problem, officer?" she asked softly. "You didn't signal back there," he replied. "Did you think you were above the rules?" His voice carried a tone that felt uncomfortably accusatory. Evelyn paused, aware that she'd signaled out of habit, but chose not to argue. "I apologize if I missed it," she said, hoping to keep the exchange peaceful. She could feel a growing tension in his stance, as though he wanted her to resist, to challenge him. Mitchell's patience wore thin as Evelyn remained calm, and he shifted his approach, instructing her to step out of the car. Surprised but still cooperative, Evelyn unbuckled her seatbelt, moving with care as she opened her door. Without warning, Mitchell gripped her arm, his hold firm enough to be painful. Evelyn gasped, feeling a shock of both pain and confusion. Her heart pounded, and she could sense the alarm in the bystanders who had gathered nearby, drawn by the scene unfolding in front of them. Someone pulled out a phone and began recording. "What are you doing?" Evelyn managed to say, her voice wavering. "Complying with the law," Mitchell replied, his grip unrelenting. Evelyn's mind spun with the realization that this moment, which should have been nothing more than a minor inconvenience, had turned into something far darker. The tension was palpable, the onlookers silent, their expressions mirroring her own shock and disbelief. Evelyn's breath came shallowly as Officer Mitchell continued to hold her arm with unnecessary force, his face set in a rigid expression. The onlookers were murmuring now, their concern growing as they witnessed a respected elderly woman, known and loved in the community, being treated harshly. One of the bystanders called out, "Officer, is that really necessary?" Mitchell glanced over, visibly agitated by the crowd's scrutiny, but unwilling to release his grip. Evelyn, her voice calm but firm, asked, "Please, could you loosen your hold? I'm cooperating." But Mitchell didn't respond, maintaining his authoritative stance. At that moment, Evelyn understood that reasoning with him was useless. Her only option was to stay calm, protect her dignity, and wait for the situation to de-escalate. Mitchell's frustration seemed to grow with every second that Evelyn refused to show signs of resistance. He was accustomed to instilling compliance, yet Evelyn's composed demeanor only added fuel to his irritation. Without further explanation, he instructed her to move to the sidewalk. The bystanders grew restless, some holding up their phones to capture what they knew was an injustice in progress. Evelyn allowed herself to be guided to the sidewalk, hoping her silent resistance would convey her strength. Her eyes met those of a young woman recording the incident, a silent exchange passing between them, one of understanding and solidarity. Evelyn wasn't alone, she realized. Her community was watching, bearing witness to this treatment. Mitchell's patience finally snapped. Without warning, he gave Evelyn's arm a sharp tug, causing her to stumble forward. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and someone shouted, "Stop! She's elderly! Be gentle!" Mitchell ignored them. He continued his forceful handling until Evelyn found herself seated on the sidewalk, both shocked and pained. She was familiar with this type of heavy-handed authority from a past that she thought she'd left behind, and now it seemed history was repeating itself. Evelyn sat there, her hands resting calmly in her lap as she looked up at him, refusing to let her dignity be shattered. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, and someone finally spoke up. "This isn't right, officer. We all know Evelyn, and she hasn't done anything to deserve this." By now, several phones were pointed directly at the scene. Each recorded second was laden with tension, Evelyn's quiet dignity contrasting sharply with Mitchell's aggressive stance. Evelyn glanced around, seeing familiar faces in the crowd. Neighbors, parents of the children she'd helped at the community center, people who knew her character. One young man took a bold step forward, his voice unwavering. "Ma'am, I've got this on video. Are you all right?" Evelyn nodded, giving him a small smile of appreciation. The presence of the camera seemed to soften Mitchell's stance slightly, but not enough to ease the intensity of the moment. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Evelyn drew a deep breath, meeting the young man's gaze. "Thank you. I'm all right, but it's good to know someone's recording." With the world now watching, Evelyn knew that this moment, whether she liked it or not, was about more than just her. It was about standing up to a misuse of authority. By the time Mitchell finally released Evelyn, the crowd's anger was palpable. Friends helped her back to her feet, their faces filled with concern. Evelyn assured them she was fine, but the truth was, her spirit was rattled. News of the incident spread quickly across the town, dividing people's reactions. Some residents sided with Mitchell, citing respect for law enforcement, but others, deeply disturbed by the video and Evelyn's treatment, felt this was a clear abuse of power. Conversations broke out in coffee shops, over fences, and at kitchen tables. People who had once quietly accepted authority were now questioning the limits of power and the right to treat others with respect and dignity. Evelyn found herself at the center of a growing movement, her silent dignity in the face of injustice stirring hearts and igniting a newfound sense of purpose in her community. Sitting in her modest living room that evening, Evelyn took a moment to process the day's events. The video was already circulating, reaching both friends and strangers alike, and the phone calls were nonstop. Family members, friends, and concerned neighbors called, offering their support and expressing their outrage. Her granddaughter Maya had driven over to see her. Sitting by Evelyn's side, she listened as Evelyn recounted the incident, her tone calm but thoughtful. "Grandma, you didn't deserve that," Maya said, eyes glistening with a mix of anger and sadness. Evelyn nodded, but her expression was one of resilience rather than defeat. "Sometimes, dear, we're tested in ways we never expect. But how we respond matters. I want to be an example, not just for you, but for this whole town." Maya nodded, inspired by her grandmother's words. "We're all behind you, Grandma. The community needs to see justice in this." As the video gained traction online, it caught the attention of local media. News crews arrived, eager to interview Evelyn and understand the story behind the footage. Evelyn agreed to a single interview with the local station, where she spoke with a calm, steady voice, describing her experience not as a personal grievance, but as a call for accountability. "I'm not looking to stir trouble," Evelyn explained, "but respect and dignity are things no one should have to ask for." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring even more people to support her cause. Her interview became a rallying cry for dignity and justice, encouraging others in the town to stand up against unfair treatment, not just for Evelyn, but for anyone facing a similar injustice. As the momentum grew, Evelyn felt a renewed strength within herself. She realized that the incident, painful as it was, had sparked something powerful, not just within her, but within her town. People began to see her not just as an elderly woman mistreated by an officer, but as a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope in a time that demanded courage and compassion. After careful thought and with her family's encouragement, Evelyn decides to file a formal complaint against Officer Mitchell. She meets with a young, enthusiastic attorney, Sarah Brooks, who is moved by Evelyn's story. Sarah believes the case can bring meaningful change, both in Millfield and beyond. As they sit together in Sarah's office, Sarah explains the process. "This isn't going to be easy, Evelyn," she says, her tone cautious. "But if you're willing to go forward, you won't be alone. I'll stand with you every step of the way." Evelyn nods, her gaze steady. "I want to do this, not just for me, but for everyone who's ever felt silenced." Word reaches Officer Mitchell that Evelyn has filed a complaint. Instead of feeling remorse, he becomes defensive, convinced he followed proper procedure. At the police station, he talks to a fellow officer trying to justify his actions. "She didn't comply. I was enforcing the law," he argues, his tone frustrated. His colleague, visibly uncomfortable, suggests he might reconsider his approach. But Mitchell, feeling cornered, only grows more resistant, telling himself he was simply doing his job. As whispers about his behavior circulate among his peers, Mitchell becomes more isolated, his actions starting to impact his standing in the department. With the local media now closely following the case, Evelyn agrees to another interview. Her calm yet powerful recounting of events strikes a chord, drawing support from surrounding communities. Soon, larger media outlets begin covering her story, bringing national attention to the issue. Evelyn's quiet dignity and wisdom touch viewers across the country. Rather than speaking in anger, she emphasizes respect, accountability, and the need for positive change. Her words are simple but profound, and the media portrays her as an unexpected symbol of resilience. "Justice isn't about revenge," Evelyn says during the interview. "It's about respect for everyone, no matter who they are." Evelyn's stance on justice resonates with many, but it also brings backlash from some townsfolk who worry about Millfield's reputation. Letters arrive at her home, some filled with support, others with harsh words. While these reactions are painful, Evelyn is comforted by the outpouring of love and encouragement from those who believe in her. At the grocery store, a young woman approaches her. "Thank you for what you're doing," she says, her voice filled with admiration. "You're giving us all courage." Evelyn smiles, taking the young woman's hand. "Change takes courage from all of us," she replies. "It's not about me, it's about everyone." This growing support renews her resolve, and the town begins to see Evelyn not as just a victim, but as a symbol of hope for a kinder, fairer future. One evening, a journalist named Tom Fields visits Evelyn for an in-depth interview. Tom, inspired by her courage, asks about her life and her role in past civil rights efforts. Evelyn opens up, sharing stories of marching alongside her husband Marcus, standing up against injustice even when it was dangerous to do so. As she tells Tom about those early days, she speaks of love, sacrifice, and the importance of community. Marcus and I didn't have much, but we had each other, and we had our purpose, she says. Back then, the fight was hard, but it was worth it, just like it is now. The interview resonates deeply with readers, especially younger audiences, who see Evelyn as a living link to past struggles and a guiding voice for present ones. Her story begins inspiring others, fueling a newfound sense of respect for civil rights and community integrity. As the case moves forward, Sarah meets with Evelyn to discuss the formal legal steps. They prepare to present evidence, including the video recorded by bystanders showing the unjust treatment Evelyn endured. Each step of the process brings challenges, but Evelyn's resolve remains steady. The town's courthouse, usually quiet, becomes the center of attention as locals gather to follow the proceedings. Sarah, fiercely dedicated to Evelyn's case, speaks with confidence in the hearings, highlighting both the legal and moral issues at stake. Evelyn sits by her side, calm yet resolute, embodying the dignity and patience that have won her the respect of so many. Outside the courthouse, community members gather each day to show their support. A few neighbors bring signs with messages like "Justice for Evelyn" and "Respect for all." The energy in the crowd grows, and a sense of unity spreads among the residents. Meanwhile, those who had once been on the fence begin to understand the depth of the issue. Conversations arise, and neighbors who once avoided discussing social issues find themselves engaged in dialogue. Evelyn's case has brought the community together in unexpected ways, with many residents reevaluating their beliefs and standing up for respect and fairness. As the court case unfolds, new information about Mitchell's past conduct surfaces, revealing a pattern of excessive force in previous departments. This evidence paints a clearer picture of his behavior, and the judge decides that Mitchell must face disciplinary action for his treatment of Evelyn. The ruling is a victory for Evelyn and her supporters, proving that justice is possible and that no one is above accountability. Mitchell's position in the department is reconsidered, and he is ordered to undergo extensive training and evaluation if he wishes to remain in law enforcement. For Evelyn, the ruling is not about revenge. It's a step toward healing for herself and the community, a reminder that accountability is essential for true justice. Evelyn's legal victory becomes a significant moment for the town. The courtroom is filled with members of the community, friends, family, and even strangers who've come to support her. When the judge delivers the ruling, the room falls silent, absorbing the weight of the decision. The court finds that Officer Mitchell acted out of line and orders the police department to take further steps to prevent future incidents. As Evelyn steps outside, a crowd greets her with applause and cheers. Her granddaughter, Maya, rushes to hug her, tears in her eyes. Evelyn smiles, feeling a mixture of relief and gratitude. She turns to the crowd and, with a humble grace, thanks them for their support. "This is a victory for all of us," she says. "Respect and dignity are everyone's rights, and we can never forget that." Her words are met with applause, and the joy in the air is palpable. Evelyn's triumph becomes a turning point for Millfield, giving the town a renewed sense of pride and purpose. With the case resolved, Millfield begins to heal. Evelyn reaches out to her neighbors, encouraging dialogue and mutual respect. She organizes a small community gathering at the local park, inviting everyone to join in conversation and unity. Neighbors who had once viewed Evelyn's case skeptically now approach her with respect, realizing the importance of her stand. They apologize for doubting her and thank her for bringing change to the town. Evelyn accepts their apologies with grace, understanding that change is often challenging but necessary. At the gathering, families, friends, and community leaders speak openly about the importance of justice, compassion, and unity. Evelyn's presence serves as a reminder of the strength it takes to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult. The event marks a turning point for the town, setting it on a path toward empathy and mutual respect. Officer Mitchell's journey doesn't end with the verdict. Following the disciplinary action, he finds himself facing his own struggles with regret and introspection. At first, he resents the outcome, feeling he was simply doing his job. But as time passes, he begins to question his actions and recognize the impact they had on Evelyn and the community. He is required to attend training sessions focusing on empathy, conflict resolution, and community relations. During these sessions, he meets other officers who share stories of change and growth, helping him understand that authority is about service, not power. One evening, he takes a quiet walk through the town and comes across a mural painted in honor of Evelyn, her image captured with a gentle smile. Seeing her as a symbol of resilience and respect, he realizes the true weight of his actions and the responsibility that comes with his role. This realization marks the beginning of a transformation for Mitchell, a path toward understanding, accountability, and genuine change. The town of Millfield takes tangible steps toward positive change, inspired by Evelyn's case. The police department adopts new policies on conduct, emphasizing transparency, respect, and community-centered values. Officer training programs now include de-escalation techniques and sessions on empathy, aiming to prevent future incidents. Evelyn is invited to speak at a town hall meeting where she expresses her gratitude and hope for the future. Millfield is a place where we take care of each other, she says, and I know we're strong enough to grow from this experience. Her words resonate with everyone in attendance, from the mayor to her neighbors. They see Evelyn not just as a respected elder, but as a moral compass who has guided the town back to its values. Her strength and resilience have sparked a movement of compassion, creating a foundation for a better Millfield. Months pass, and Evelyn's story continues to inspire. The community honors her by dedicating a plaque at the town square, inscribed with the words, "For dignity, justice, and the courage to stand up for what's right." Her family stands beside her at the dedication ceremony, proud of the legacy she has created. Young children look up at Evelyn with admiration, inspired by her strength and kindness. The community collectively feels the impact of her actions, recognizing that Evelyn's journey has brought lasting, meaningful change to their lives. Evelyn's family holds a small celebration at her home afterward, surrounded by friends and supporters. As they reminisce about her journey, Evelyn's heart is full, knowing that her stand has left a legacy that will live on. The final chapter captures Evelyn's peaceful moments, reflecting on the journey she's taken and the changes she's witnessed. Sitting on her porch one quiet evening, she watches the sun dip below the horizon, filling the sky with warm hues. She thinks of Marcus, of her family, and of the town that has become her extended family. Evelyn knows that while the road to justice isn't always easy, it is always worth traveling. Her story has not only transformed Millfield, but has touched lives far beyond its borders. Her heart is at peace, knowing she has upheld the values she holds dear and inspired others to do the same. As she sits quietly, her granddaughter Maya joins her, holding her hand. "Grandma, you're a hero," Maya whispers, her eyes filled with admiration. Evelyn smiles, gently squeezing Maya's hand. "A hero is just someone who knows when to stand up for what's right, dear. Remember that, always." The two sit in peaceful silence, watching the colors of the sky fade. The story ends with Evelyn content, knowing that justice, compassion, and dignity have prevailed, and that her legacy will continue to inspire generations to come. A year after Evelyn's case, Millfield is barely recognizable as the same town. The community has become a model of unity and respect, thanks to the changes sparked by Evelyn's journey. New programs promoting diversity and inclusion are established in local schools, helping students understand the importance of empathy, accountability, and respect. The town also sees a rise in volunteerism, with many residents inspired by Evelyn's example of service and kindness. The local community center has seen a surge in attendance, with people of all ages coming together to help one another. Evelyn's legacy is evident in every corner of Millfield, from town meetings to casual conversations at the local cafe. As Evelyn reflects on her journey, she feels both pride and peace. One afternoon, she sits down with her granddaughter Maya, now in college and studying community organization, inspired by her grandmother's example. Maya wants to hear everything about Evelyn's experiences, asking questions with a blend of awe and admiration. Evelyn smiles, happy to share her insights and the lessons she's learned over the years. "Maya," she says gently, "there will always be moments in life when you'll have to decide between staying silent or standing up. Always remember that your voice has power, and use it with kindness and strength." Maya listens, taking in every word. Her grandmother's wisdom will be her guide as she prepares to carry forward Evelyn's legacy, dedicating herself to justice and compassion. Evelyn's impact isn't limited to her family. Throughout Millfield, young people are inspired by her story, seeing her as a role model for change. A small group of high school students, with Maya's guidance, organize a new program called Voices of Justice, where they volunteer at the community center and participate in outreach initiatives for underrepresented groups. Evelyn is invited to speak at the program's launch event. Standing in front of a room full of eager young faces, she feels a sense of pride and hope. She shares a message of resilience and courage, encouraging them to work for a world where respect and compassion prevail. Each of you has the power to make a difference, she tells them. Remember, change begins with one person willing to stand up, and that person can be you. Millfield's police department, once a point of tension, has embraced Evelyn's lessons wholeheartedly. They've implemented new policies focusing on community engagement and have introduced sensitivity training that encourages officers to build relationships with the people they serve. Officer Mitchell, who has completed his training and self-reflection, has changed as well. He reaches out to Evelyn, humbly asking to meet with her. After careful thought, Evelyn agrees, seeing it as an opportunity for further healing. Their meeting is quiet but meaningful. Mitchell expresses regret for his actions and thanks Evelyn for the strength she showed. Evelyn accepts his apology, and they talk about the importance of respect, dignity, and learning from mistakes. As they part, both feel a sense of closure and understanding, knowing that growth can come from even the hardest of circumstances. The town sees this meeting as a powerful reminder that justice isn't just about punishment, but about growth, reconciliation, and the possibility of change. In the final chapter, Evelyn enjoys a quiet day in her garden, feeling the warmth of the sun and listening to the birds' cheerful songs. She reflects on her journey, the love she's received from her community, and the knowledge that her actions have helped create a better Millfield. Maya joins her, sitting beside her with a peaceful smile. They share a moment of comfortable silence, enjoying the simple beauty of the day. Evelyn thinks of her late husband, Marcus, feeling his presence with her. She knows he would be proud of what they've accomplished together, even though he isn't here to witness it. Her thoughts drift to the future, to the generations that will grow up in a Millfield shaped by her journey. She feels grateful, knowing that she has done her part in leaving the world a kinder, more just place. As the day draws to a close, Evelyn closes her eyes, content and at peace, knowing that her legacy will live on in the hearts and minds of those she's inspired. Her story becomes part of the town's history, a testament to the power of resilience, kindness, and justice.